Hello YouTube. This is unusual for me to post twice a week, but I'm going to try to do it because I said I was going to try to do it. But this video is going to be about my D&D collection, which I have laid out before you. This is half of it. Not all of it. Half. And most of it is painted. And there's some standout figures that I want to point out to show what they mean to me and where they stand when it comes to my book series. So let's quickly go through this because last time I made this video it was 40 minutes long and my phone couldn't process it. So I'm going to try to be short and sweet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out certain groups or all of them, just less talky. So over here you have a group of your goblins that I made. They are faction specific to my books. The Crimson Shields. It goes towards their god, why they have red shields. And then back here you have some games GW skeletons that I bought off eBay. I don't use them as much, but I do use them. And then here in the center here you have your Townfolk and a couple of characters that I like and my kids like to play. I know these two are similar. Sorry for movement camera. With this one, I cut the cape off the back. And this one is special to me because it was my first thought of Ivar, of how he would look in a combat situation. So on this figure it is a Reaper Bones. He did have a sword in this hand, but I cut it off and slapped a shield on there because I thought it looked cool. And that's sort of like what my main character Ivar would do, is he would pick up a shield or anything that would help him protect himself. What you have here is a mixture of two different companies, Perry Miniatures and Fireforge, I believe. These are the Fireforge is the medieval Crusader type figurines, and they actually mesh really well with Perry Miniatures. And if you guys are involved or like doing D&D, these are in pretty good scale comparison to your D&D figures. So, move on to the back section here. This section here is a mixture of Reaper Bones and WizKids, and I have several nobles back here. I have a stuck-up guy here, this finger arguing or pointing out something. He has a dagger there, ready to stab somebody. And you have some merchants. This guy I really liked. I picked him up because I liked his stance and I liked the way he looks. So to me, I envision him as a crusader for the Church of Corel. So I'll paint him up red, his armor and everything. He had the Church of Corel symbol painted out. I'm going to do a freehand on there. This guy I got at Zia Records. He was a lone miniature that I picked up from there. And in my books there's a character, his name is Karstein. He's a barbarian, and he sort of reminded me of him. So I've got a couple of dwarf cooks, a halfling, and then I have this guy, which is a hobgoblin, and it's very reminiscent to me towards the hobgoblins that are in my story. Hobgoblins are related to your goblins and orcs, but their intelligent level is closer towards humans, and they have a more civilized type of society. But they don't really mingle with anybody. The males, they go out and they hire their services out to highest bidder. There's a group called the Crimson Fists. They are solely dedicated to the Church of Corel because they pay very well. And then I have a little torture thing I like. I use it as a objective marker in one of my games that I played recently. So it was pretty good. And I have a executioner. I just liked the way it looked, so that's why I picked it up. There's no real reason why I picked this guy up. Then over here I have my dwarf section. These guys are Oathmark, much like these guys. These are Oathmark, which is a different company. You get 30 miniatures in a box for like $32, something like that. And then I got a mixture here of Reaper Bones and WizKids. I picked them up and I painted this white X on a blue field. It's a feature that a clan of dwarves have in my book, so I painted them up to represent that. These figures, I liked them because it gave me a chance to branch out and paint something different other than humans and elves and orcs. So I wanted to have a representation of them, of the dwarves. There are dwarves in my fantasy world, but they are very few and far in between. They are rare to see, but they do come up when they are needed. So back over here, I have two figures that I wanted to talk about real quick. These are WizKids. I liked this set because there's two characters in my book that I really wanted to have some sort of representation of them. One is a friend / lover to Ivar, Selima, and this one reminded me of her when I saw it because she's a fighter. She uses a shield and a sword, and that was pretty neat that I saw that. And also in the box came another elf-looking female wielding two swords. And on my Elven side storyline, there's a female that follows Dracu around, and her name is Millennia, and she wields two swords and has leather armor. And this kind of reminded me of that idea, so I liked it. Haven't got around to painting it up yet, which I should sometime in the near future. Then over here, I wanted to have and try out some ideas. I made some golems, some stone golems, and then earth golems here. I made those out of tiny pebbles and sticks and super glue. I have a hard time thinking. And baking soda. And also, I wanted to have a good representation of a innkeeper, so I sculpted this guy, James the Butcher. And then I sculpted a female crusader of the Church of Corel, which is what she is. She's like a paladin, if you want to compare it to anything. And then I wanted to have a figurine that will be a good representation of Ivar in a non-action type pose. So I sculpted this guy. I know it's very plain in appearance, but it gives the idea of him just traveling. And then I made a different idea, different concept, as if he was holding his sword and the wind is blowing and his cloak was conforming to one side of his body. And I made 2 copies. One I sort of painted. Let me set this down real quick so I get this to focus a little better. Sorry. These ones that I casted here are miscast, because I was just testing out the mold and see how the mold would hold up. But if you guys got a thing for miscast, let me know. I'll make you a couple. But this is a collection that I hold dear, and I appreciate the hard work that people make for the people to enjoy. Now these, before I take off, I bought them because I liked the way they look. They're quite unique, and in case I did do a actual D&D session, I would have Dragonborn for people to use if they wanted to use one. In my fantasy world, there really isn't any Dragonborn type creature anymore because they all died off or were killed. So the idea was I could resurrect them for a game and they'd face these guys in combat. But the dragon type humanoids in my fantasy realm are called Alphagons and Belphagons. So these would represent that. And also I like the pose. The poses are pretty neat. So anyway, I really hope you guys like this little tour of my D&D figures. If you guys have any questions or comments, or you want to say anything about them, or you want to ask me a question about my fantasy world, let me know in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, stay creative.